So today we're talking about the Sigma 18-50, a new Sigma zoom lens for the Fuji X mount. So recently Fujifilm opened up their lens mount for third-party manufacturers like Sigma, Tamron, and so on. And this is one of their first offerings. So the Sigma 18-50 zoom lens, it's an amazing lens, super compact. I absolutely love it, so let's talk about it. First, the things that I like or love about this lens, the first thing is the size and weight of this thing. So as you can see, this thing is absolutely tiny compared to my Sigma 18-35. It's just, there's no comparison. Even when I fully zoom out to 50 mil, I mean, the difference is still huge. It's like no comparison whatsoever. This is pretty heavy, not super heavy, but pretty heavy. This is absolutely lightweight. So perfect for travel, anything that you want to do. I just put this in my bag when I travel, do anything. I put it on a gimbal and it just performs. I have a super versatile focal range and it's just awesome. Before I had this lens, I tried to balance my 18-35 on my Zhiyun Weebill S. So this guy, my gimbal that I use. And there was just absolutely no way that I was able to balance my Fuji XS10 or my X-T2 with this lens. It was just way too front heavy with an adapter and everything. I was able to balance it on my GH5, my Panasonic camera, but it was just barely enough. Like I had that much space, and it's a pretty heavy setup, so not ideal. I had a 24-70 as well, full frame lens, Canon EF mount for my cameras, which I adapted, but that was super heavy, and that was no option to do it on a gimbal. So I knew that I had to get another compact lens, which was still pretty versatile in focal range, so a zoom lens. And there was just no option out there until this guy came around. And I saw this on the internet and I was kind of amazed. Like, the focal range is basically a 24-70, which I will be talking about later in this video. And it's super compact. It was, you know, pretty nicely priced. So I just jumped on it. I didn't second guess. I just went for it. And now I just put this on a gimbal. It's a dream. Like, even if you're zoomed in at like 24 and you balance it on 24 and you zoom out to like or zoom in to like a 35, there's no reason to balance it, to rebalance it. You just leave it as is. Of course, when you're all the way zoomed in or zoomed out on a gimbal and then you go all the way out or in, you know, that's a different story. But otherwise, you'll be perfectly fine. This is super light, 2.8 constant aperture. Put this on a gimbal, amazing times. Travel, photography, videography. I will be going to Portugal with my wife in 2 weeks. Last trip that we do before we're getting a baby in July. And this is probably going to live on my XS10. Small camera, XS10. I'd rather use that one than my X-T2. It's a little bit more heavy, shallower grip. This is better. So this camera, which I'm filming on right now, with this lens, it's all I need. Probably gonna carry my 35mm around as well, f2, for a little bit more bokeh, shallower depth of field, but this is probably gonna live on my lens there. I can take great photos, I can do great videos with this. I have a nice focal range, so absolutely amazing. So yeah, perfect. The second thing I like about this lens is the Sigma image quality. So Sigma is known for its great image quality, especially the art series. So this is an art lens, 18-35. I picked this guy up about a year and a half ago, because everybody on the internet was raving about it. Picked it up for 400 euros secondhand, and this is basically what I mainly use for my videography. It's a 1.8 all the way through. This almost always lives on my camera, but it's pretty heavy. Not really that compact and nice to travel with. But the art series is just known for its image quality, so that's great in that lens. But this is probably, I think, around the same image quality. Like, I can't really tell the difference, and I would be surprised if Sigma purposely, you know, deteriorates the image quality of like a lens like this compared to an art series. So to me, you're getting, you know, great quality with this lens. Also, build quality is pretty good. You know, it doesn't feel like a toy lens. It really feels like a nice, genuine lens, just super compact. So yeah, you'll definitely be getting the signature Sigma image quality out of this lens. It's all you need. The third thing about this lens, which is absolutely awesome, is its price. So it's priced at $499 here in Belgium, and I think it's $499 in the US as well, which is nuts. Like, I bought my Sigma 24-70 used from a retailer for 1,150 euros about 8 months ago. I sold it for $750 about a month ago. So I had it for about 7 to 8 months, give or take. I've had this lens for about, I would say, 6 weeks now, something like that, maybe 8 weeks. I've used this lens way more than I used my 24-70 in 8 months. So you just gravitate towards it. You're going to be picking up this lens way more often than a big, bulky, full-frame lens. If you're shooting APS-C, of course. This is an APS-C lens. This is no full-frame lens, of course. That's pretty obvious. But, you know, you'll be wanting to shoot with this lens. Like, you put this on your camera, you have a nice little setup, but you're still, you know, having a nice focal range, 2.8 aperture. So, you know, it's awesome. Like, awesome, awesome, awesome. You're inconspicuous, you know, even with the lens hood on. If you put the lens hood on, you know, you're gonna be looking a little bit more serious with the lens hood on, you know, and zoomed out. That's gonna be a little bit more of a professional look, but still super compact, super small. So yeah, awesome. So the last thing I absolutely love about this lens is the focal range. So 18 to 50. On an APS-C camera like mine, the XS10, you have to multiply that by 1.5 to get a full frame equivalent. So this is going to be around a 27 to 75 mil, which is basically a 24-70 in full frame world. So this is actually a mini 24-70 for an APS-C camera. You will be getting the same focal range, the same versatility as someone shooting full frame with a heavy 24-70. And you're shooting APS-C with this guy. You're getting the same range, you're getting the same aperture. Of course, depth of field is going to be a little bit weaker because it's a 2.8 on an APS-C, and 2.8 on a full frame is going to give you more shallow depth of field. But essentially, it's kind of a 24-70 for your APS-C camera, which is a lens that many filmmakers swear by. It's the only lens a lot of them use for all their video work. 24-70, it's just the lens to get in video world. And yeah, this is basically it for your APS-C camera. Of course, no optical image stabilization, which the 24-70 Sigma lens that I had did have. Yeah, mini 24-70 for your APS-C camera. That's all you need. So a couple things that I don't like about this lens. Of course, no camera is perfect, but neither is the lens. They all have their positives and negatives, so this lens as well. The first thing, I kind of touched on it in my previous point, it has no stabilization. I don't really mind it because I have IBIS in my camera, but of course, if you don't have IBIS in your camera and you're wanting to shoot handheld or long exposure photos, that's probably going to be a little bit of a problem. If you have IBIS in your camera, you're going to be perfectly fine. And when you want super smooth shots, you will probably use a gimbal, so not a deal breaker for me. The second negative about this lens, I don't really mind it. It's not a problem for me, but I do have to say that I think it's a little bit weird that they kind of switched it or turned it around. But the zoom ring is kind of reversed on this lens. As a manufacturer, I would think you would just choose a direction for your lens to zoom. I don't mind it if it's the other way around, like on another lens from another company. In your own lenses, to do it like the other way around, it's just super weird. But you're used to it in a few minutes. It's like driving an automatic car and then having to drive stick. Of course, those of you in the United States, you probably don't know how to drive stick. Driving stick again, or a manual car after driving automatic, it's like a few streets and you're used to it, and you know, and it's just in your system. The same goes with these lenses. You pull the wrong way to do, you know, a zoom in or a zoom out, and then you're like, oh yeah, it's the other way around here. You do it 2-3 times and it's okay, so it's not really a problem. I don't know why they did it. There's no really positive to it, so yeah, kind of a quirk about this lens. Saw a lot of you talking about it on the internet, that they just won't buy this lens because of it. just keep it in mind. The third negative about this lens is also something ring based on the ring department of this lens. So the focus ring is kind of close to the camera. So I don't know if you can tell, focus ring is here. Normally, you know, when you support your lens, you want your focus ring to be further away from the camera, so it's easier to pull focus. Like you're supporting the lens with the palm of your hand, and then you're focusing with your fingers. Here it's just kind of a pain. You know, you're super close to your body, your camera body that is. So maybe you're not super close to your body, but definitely your camera body. Kind of cramped on your fingers to focus. Also, it's focused by wire, I think. So it's not really as heavy as like in Sigma Art, where you can feel, you know, the heft of the ring just going with you. Not really a lens that is meant to be used manual. I shoot it autofocus. The autofocus on my Fuji is good enough. In video, it's sometimes not as great as I would like it to be. I talked about it in my video about the XS10, which I'll link up above, about the things that I don't really like about that camera. But I shoot this lens on autofocus because my manual focus is just, this is definitely a lens to be used with autofocus, so keep that in mind. And then the last thing I want to talk about regarding this lens is also kind of a negative. It has nothing to do with the lens itself or mechanics or, you know, anything about the lens. It's the perceived effect of the lens. So if you're doing client work, you're doing professional work, and you have a camera rig with, you know, full frame glass and a cage and a handle and everything and a mic, and it looks impressive. Like your client is going to be like, wow, we're probably going to get what we pay for it. This guy knows what he's doing. When you show up with your camera like an XS10 and this lens just handheld, you know, you're putting this lens on your camera, XS10, you're ready to shoot, and you're like, let's do this. You're not gonna look so impressed with your camera, and they're gonna be like, is this all you brought? Like, is this it? And they're not gonna have that much faith in you. Just something innate to a human being. If someone drives a nice car, you think that that guy knows everything about cars, and it's the same with cameras. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that the guy with the big rig is gonna produce better results than you with your XS10 or whatever APS-C camera or an A6000 series with like this small lens, and you know what you're doing. You're probably gonna make a better video than the guy with a big rig who doesn't know what the he's doing. So this lens doesn't really look professional on client work. I've used it before for a second angle with my X-T2. So with an interview, I did 2 angles, and I used my 18-35 on my A camera, and then I put this guy on the B camera for a second angle. Of course, you're already looking professional to someone if you're shooting 2 angles with the light and everything, so it doesn't really matter if it's gonna be a small lens on that second camera. But if this is everything that you show up with, along with your camera body, you're not really gonna look that great, even though it's possible that your results are gonna be amazing. But something that will never change. So yeah, that wraps up everything about this lens, what I like or love and what I don't really like. All in all, the negatives are not really a deal breaker to me. I picked up this lens, I've used it a ton already, and I'm gonna be using it going forward all the time. So if you're thinking about picking up a nice zoom lens, a versatile focal range, constant aperture 2.8, this is the way to go for an APS-C camera. Like $4.99. It's a great deal, and you won't be needing anything else than this lens to make great videos and great photos. Like, it's a hybrid lens for sure. Great lens. I couldn't recommend it enough. If you're thinking about picking it up, just do it. Just do it. All right, so that wraps up another video. Going forward, I would like to thank all my subscribers already. I just started this YouTube channel a couple weeks ago. A serious note, you know, doing more and more videos. I will be taking you guys on behind the scenes of one of my shoots and everything to show you how I do my things, how I run my business. My wife sometimes is my assistant because she's at home right now because she's pregnant. So she will be shooting some behind the scenes. I'm going to be talking more about gear, about Fujifilm, maybe about my GH5, showing you who I am and what I do. And if you like my content, you like my videos, please subscribe, like my videos. It helps a ton. I want to really build out this YouTube channel. As of right now, I still have a 9-to-5 job. I'm actually a car salesman, and I do my video and photo business on the side. But my goal in the near future is, of course, to build out this business and make it my main business, my 9-to-5 job, you know, with my videography and photography business, and then maybe YouTube on the side. Make my dream come true of being an entrepreneur and being my own boss. So yeah, I really like to do these videos, to talk to you guys. It's amazing to see that people gravitate towards my content and like me talking about gear and everything. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And going forward, if you like my stuff, just please subscribe and stay tuned, because there's a lot more coming. So yeah, thanks so much. Bye.